Yeah, I mean, honestly, what they need to do is they just need to do Revan, and they could print money. I mean, the lore is open.
How you doing,
Let's
guys?
let Kath.
Good.
Yeah,
How are you?
Hey, how's it
doing
going?
well. Yeah, doing really well.
All right. So I
How about y'all?
apparently jumped in on some different conversation going on, but how
Yeah, we
about
don't need to worry about that.
we talk about Alien now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds like an excellent plan.
yeah. Xenomorphs, face huggers.
Morse
I'm
and
down for
face
that.
huggers. What? That's we always go to that. I mean, what about characters like Ripley and I think so,
Hicks.
What character do you think Ripley would be? Bring her up. Character
She,
class.
I think she was
I
closer to a roughneck.
Yeah.
Was it? Wait, no. Wasn't she a scientist? Unless I'm
No.
misremembering.
No,
No,
no.
No.
She drives a forklift, man. The
she does
the
drive a
loader.
fork, right?
Where do you want me to put it?
Maybe an officer?
Yeah, she could have been. I mean,
There
she
we go.
was.
Yeah, I think because I know she was one of the officers in the first movie. She was one of
Mm-hmm.
the head shed. I can't remember.
she was the second officer.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably
no,
why I
She
put.
is a roughneck. I mean, yes, okay. There's really, a ship like that. There's really only one officer, and that's the captain. I
Yeah,
mean, you get right down to it.
realistically speaking, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think
Yeah.
roughneck personally.
yeah.
Accurate.
I don't think she really was pulling rank or like a whole lot with that. But yeah,
I really like the head mechanic, the head engineer
Mm-hmm.
in the original Alien movie. That's my
The whole
favorite
cast
character.
was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They did do a good job, yeah, including the cat. Fantastic casting.
the
Mm-hmm.
cat. The cat stole the show.
Jonesy.
He did.
My goodness.
All right.
Oh boy.
So we got everybody out tonight so that we can talk about character creation for the Alien RPG. Last week we kind of went over world building and what is the world like for Alien, and how much is it influenced by, well, it's greatly influenced by the movies, but it's vastly expanded from just the lore that's generated in the movies. It's a huge universe full of different planets, different cultures, different species, animals, people, um, and to populate the game world, we all create characters. So, what does that look like? If you've ever actually played the system before, you probably have some idea. If you don't, then please pay attention, because we're going to go through the character creation process tonight and really talk through some of the ins and outs to the characters, and how it's done. The Year Zero system that it's based off of is fairly easy to use, so I just want to throw that out there. Free League has a very awesome system that they use for most of their games. Most of their games are adaptations of. But there are some little nuances that can trip you up. So hopefully we can help save you a little time and get you going with a brand new character a little quicker. With that, I'm going to turn this over, and Dark Pawn is our alien GM at this point. So take it away, man.
Yeah. So in the core book, and it's important to note we're just kind of focused on the core book, not the supplement, because there are like many more career options in some of the other books, which are great. And they give you ideas on how to like make your own. Because let's face it, somebody's going to want to play something that isn't in the book, and that's fine. You just need to know how to do that. And we'll get through it as we discuss. In the core book, there's 9 careers. And that's the colonial marine, which is one of my favorites. Uh, you have the colonial marshal, the company agent, the kid, the medic, the officer, the pilot, the roughneck, and the scientist. And we'll go through them. Before we do that, though, I'm curious what your favorites are. So we'll start with Rob. Which career path just speaks to you and why?
Okay, cool. Well, my favorite character, or rather career path, excuse me, is pilot. Anyone here's watched Firefly, knows Bosch, or played Mass Effect Joker, can understand why. And for me, it's one of those character classes where you don't see it very often in a lot of TTRPGs. I mean, even the sci-fi, focused ones. At least in my experience, again, I could be entirely wrong on that, but I've not really seen a pilot, and it's also a character class that I don't play as often. Not the shoot 'em up, combat heavy focused classes that I normally play. I figured I'd do something different, and pilot kind of was that for me.
Okay, I got a question for you then.
Okay.
So with the pilot, you've obviously got a pretty specific task, right? So like
Mhm.
in let's think of like aliens. You've got the pilot who she's literally landing, drops the armored vehicle, right? It rolls out, and then she dusts off. In a
Yep.
standard game, how would you work that into like not just flying away? Like now you've got to go from you land on the planet or you're landing to do something. Now how do you transition into that? How would you go about doing that?
Like, you mean, how do you add more than just, I fly down on a planet and then I
Yep.
take off? Come to,
Once the flying's done, now what? Now where do you see that character? And how would you like build it so that now you've got something else to do?
well, actually, I guess I'll use my character, Jeff Washburn. And yes, if you know Firefly, you'll recognize the name um, that I made for our Alien 5-part Alien series, miniseries. With him, I focused on like tech stuff. So not only was he a really good pilot, but he was almost like a secondary technician for the team. And that's kind of where I put my focus. So he added some utility to a group. If they came up against malfunctioning equipment, he could help with that. He was also, based on his backstory, he was also a pretty decent shot. Not the best, but pretty solid in a gunfight. Having backstory was he was a military pilot. Um, on like the last conflict and what have you. So he kind of had combat experience in that regard.
Okay.
But yeah, I think in regards to like creating your character, definitely lean into what they're good at, but yeah, give them something else. Because I mean, you bring up a good point, Chad, in regards to the pilot. He's not always going to be flying. He's got to have to do something else. So yeah, to kind of lean into the tech aspect of the system.
Right. Well, and I mean, even if they're not flying something, there might be a ground vehicle to drive and pilot skill. So there's that going. But okay, that, I like that choice. Um, what about let's go with Razzmatazz next. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna think I know where
Go
you're
for it.
going, but
Take
surprise. You know what? I think I don't know. I maybe I was gonna say scientist or the corporate agent, one of the two.
Anybody else want to take a guess?
Colonial Marine.
I'm gonna say Roughneck. I see Greg as a space trucker. Just give him a hat, let him grow out his beard. Which, by the
I
way, I have seen Greg, not necessarily with a beard, but I've seen him with like a little bit of growth in there. Grow a
lies.
pretty decent beard, man.
Yeah, roughneck. Actually, I like the idea of playing a roughneck in or possibly an officer as a starship captain. Um, yeah, I like the roughneck idea. I think it's gritty enough that it fits really well if you're playing in a cinematic game. That it just lends itself to like the original Alien movie and being a part of that crew. You know, I love it. It's gritty,
That camaraderie,
right?
that
Right.
like yeah.
And I
Okay.
think it's just it fits so well. You look at some of the other I would enjoy playing the corporate agent as well. Um, but the company guy, you'd have to have a really good story put together to really to make that work. Um, so I yeah, I think if I was playing with a group of folks that were really wanting to get into more of a campaign style game, absolutely, I would gladly play a company agent. Because I can get into the whole devious thing, sweet and innocent person that I am. Um, um, thank you, cheerful. Um, I think the kid would be challenging, but I would take that one on too. Um, it's most of the other ones I don't really. Those are the ones I have the most interest in or the most interest in. The one that I'd say the one role out of all of them that I think would be the ultimate challenge role would be like the colonial marshal position because you're not really a marine, you're not a corporate agent. You kind of got to walk that line in between. And I mean, you could be a good guy or a bad guy. Depends on what your mood is. I can like that.
Be like the detective, right? The space detective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bounty hunter, probation officer, or that could be fun. I mean, that could be a fun
I gotta
role.
go chase your ass down. That could
Yep.
be a whole story in that. So,
Going after Riddick, but
nah, I think I'd stay home.
yeah, yeah. I don't blame you. Foxy, what do you got? What career calls to you?
Honestly, going against type, I really like the idea of the company agent. I think there's a lot that you could do with it. I mean, everybody thinks of Burke when they think of, the company agent, which is a good jumping off point, but there's a whole lot of other things you could do with that.
Right.
Um, but normally I pick characters that kind of, I don't know, tend to take care of others. And this would be a really good way to get out of that habit because the only person that person's taking care of is themselves.
Well, could you play a good corporate
I
agent, like an
I think
actual,
you could. I really
caring,
think that you could.
right? I mean, would you base it on like maybe the corporation you work for could have different morals? Because we all get caught up in the Whalen Utani, right? I mean, it's always
Mhm.
Whalen Utani, but there's literally hundreds of corporations, large, medium, small. I mean, they can't all be soulless, can they? I mean, can we assume that there's a few like meals on wheels in space out there?
The
Yeah, I mean,
space Red Cross.
I think you could even go into like being a really good person and thinking that you're going to, change the company from the inside and then you get inside and you find out all of the shady crap that the company's doing. So you're trying to, you know, make a change for the better in whatever small ways you can,
Right.
having to deal with that.
And I think it'd even be fun to like go rogue, like you denounce your corporation. What better way to work against the corporation than pretending to be a part of it?
Exactly. Or double
Yeah.
agent work for 2 corporations and be a spy.
right?
I just
Playing a
want to
dangerous game.
I want to work for the good company.
A good company,
Yeah, that would be the name of the company I work for, the
Ooh,
good company. Because then I
good
mean, he's got to be
company.
good. He works for the good
But
company, you
nobody's
know?
gonna suspect anything, you work for the
Right,
good
right.
company.
I'm gonna say, I don't know. In this universe, it's either that company doesn't exist, or is it a really good company? Are we? that's-
Got to be a good
Maybe
company.
I'm a cynic because there are no
No.
companies.
Phrase got it. Phrase got it. The good company.
Yeah,
That's absolutely that's my company. That's what I work for.
right. I mean, that would be a fun. I think that'd be a fun campaign though to kind of come up with something like that. And yeah, what does a good corporation and the alien world look like? I mean,
It would be
that's the question.
well, it'd be really interesting to try that, and
Mhm.
you would be kind of defining it at the same time, and I mean, what is it? Are you really good? That's the first question. You know.
Mhm.
I keep thinking of Ash and the Evil Dead. Good, bad. I'm the guy with the gun, right? I mean, like
Yep.
in the end of the day, in the alien world, good, bad. When the Marines show up or the big guns, it doesn't really matter if you're good or bad. And then you throw the Xenos and other things in there, and then it really doesn't matter because they don't care. You all taste the same. But
Remember,
Right.
shop shop smart, shop
Shut-
S smart.
Chop S smart.
exactly. Ex- well, that'll be the corporation, the S Smart
Oh
Corporation.
God,
There you
Re-
go.
retailers to the universe. Yep. All right.
I could see
Well,
that. Futuristic Walmart.
should we go through the careers in the book and just kind of do a little summary of all of them? That
Sure.
sound like fun?
Yeah,
Let's
I
Yeah.
do
think
it.
that sounds like a good idea.
So let's see. We'll start off obviously with the Colonial Marines, right? They
No bias
all
there
the
at all.
no, but it's alphabetical order. I did not set that. But
Mhm.
first off, they have a key attribute, right? Before I get into that, there's 4 attributes. So if you're familiar with like Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing, they're similar. I mean, strength. Everybody knows what strength is, right? They lump it their raw muscle power, but also your brawn and also your stamina, like how much you can take. Then they have agility, which is fairly straightforward. It's body control, speed, and motor skills. So juggling, shooting, that kind of stuff. Wits is really your sensory perception. They're basically like also your intelligence. They kind of lump it together with intelligence. For D&D, that'd be kind of like intelligence and wisdom together. And then obviously empathy. Empathy is your charisma. And then they literally say empathy, which I hate that they do that in the book because I hate
Mhm.
defining something with the word that you're using. But uh, we'll call it reading people. I like that better. And then manipulation. So how you can get people to do what you want. Those are the 4 attributes, and that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. I like that. Guys,
Mhm.
do you guys like having just the 4, or do you like more games like Cyberpunk and we have 10 different attributes?
Honestly, I like the simplified way that it is here just because if I have to think about it too much, it kinda takes me out of the moment.
Yeah, I think for me it's similar. I appreciate the keeping things nice and tight and tidy. Um, Objectively speaking, if you put this system side by side with, let's say, even edition D&D, and that's not even the crunchiest edition of D&D, and I was like a new player, I'd probably go with this one over that one simply because it's straightforward. It's easy to kind of grasp. Okay, 4 attributes I don't got to worry about a lot, and just go. Um, but yeah, I mean, like Mark said, I like the simplicity and just the ability to just grasp it and kind of run with it. Um, Whereas with D&D, you kind of need a little bit more ramp up time to that.
Raz, how about a GM opinion?
Well, the idea of setting at the tables is twofold: to tell great story and to have fun, and tell great story with your friends. So the more time you have to bury your head in a book, and I understand, sometimes you just want to have some clarity on some things. You know what I mean? You want to be able to feel certain about different things, and that's what led to these systems that are really complex. I really enjoy a simpler rules light system like the Year Zero engine, especially here in the Alien world, just simply because it makes gameplay so much smoother. You're more focused on the storytelling aspect and less focused on I gotta figure out if I can do this or not. No, just here's your ability, here's your skill, make your roll. Boom.
Right. Yeah, and I think we'll talk about more of the crunchy rules because there's some um, next week. We'll get into that, but like you know, that is streamlined compared to like D and D, where D&D you've got spells and certain ranges and radiuses, and you're trying to do trigonometry and geometry to figure out what you're doing. Where this literally has like four ranges. It's like close, short, medium, like long, and then extreme. I mean that like, and you don't have a really. I mean, there's a range, but you don't worry about it. Just say what it is. So I do agree. Well, and also obviously we're going to run this and The Walking Dead with the Year Zero engine basically at GaryCon.
Hmm.
So it's going to be a really good test because a lot of people are coming in with no experience, and trying to teach someone Dungeons and Dragons or Cyberpunk, or similar without having any knowledge is quite more challenging compared to, I feel, and we'll find out if we're proven wrong. I think this will be easier to just throw people in and get started and get to the fun and not get to the, trying to figure it all out, which we'll see, right? We got 14 days and then we're gonna
And
be
then
there.
there we go. Absolutely.
Yep.
I it
Yep,
it
and then you'll see these three at Gary Con doing their best to get you killed. Oh, did I say that out loud? My bad.
what? Why would you say such a
Ah,
thing? Why? Why would you say such a thing?
I'm just gunning for Boomer in the
oh,
Friday session.
oh, that's just wrong.
I'm assuming Boomer is
That's
who's that?
me.
Yeah,
That's
that's
you?
Me.
that's
Oh,
Foxy.
well, rip. Well, I mean,
Boomer is
I wish you luck.
Foxy.
Wish you luck.
Yes.
And I'm
I
talking
All
to
right.
chat, not you, Boomer.
I don't need luck. I can fudge the rolls. No, I'm just kidding. They'll be out. They'll all be in the
We'll clip
open.
that.
They-
Someone
They'll,
clip
Oh,
that.
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
they'll,
clip
they'll
that for
all.
sure.
I
I'm
am
gonna
an
put
old.
that on a T-shirt.
I'm an old school GM, but I roll everything out in the open. I don't hide anything. Fall as they fall. How I've always done it. And some of my players probably regret that because it ended a few of them where you couldn't save them,
no.
but that's just the way I go.
Not Boomer as an old people.
No,
Boomer's the character name.
yeah, Boomer is a demolition. She's a Seaburn specialist, or and she is a demolition expert. She likes to make things go boom. All right.
Indeed.
So speaking of colonial marines, because Boomer is a marine, a specialist. Um, I'm not going to go hugely into depth, but I just want to kind of go over their main attribute and what that means, and then I think we're going to make some characters at some point, and then we'll literally kind of pick what we're doing, and then show you how the stats go.
Well,
Uh,
let's
but
let when we get to that point. So if you think about it, let's let the audience decide what the
characters,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So when
that'd
we
be
get to
fun.
that point, if you want to see a particular character, a particular role made, then pop that in the chat and we'll do that.
All
Sorry,
right.
I interrupted, man.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I just wanted to quick go through the core careers, just their main attribute and what that means, and then the skills. Their their skills. Um, when you make a character, and like we said, we're going to go over that. You have 14 points to put between your attributes, and there's only four, so you can spread them out. But the rules say you can't have anything under a two, and you can only have a 5 in your main attribute, which is assigned to your career. And then skills, you can put up to a 3 in your skill that like are assigned to your career, and then you can only put a 1 in ones that you're not. So that's kind of why it is important to pick the career that you want to focus on. With Colonial Marines, their main attribute is strength, which not surprising. Um, Obviously, they're supposed to be tough. They're supposed to be resilient. They're supposed to be right badasses. Um, their skills are close combat, stamina, which is literally just surviving, like how much pain you can take, and then obviously range combat because they like to shoot stuff. So fighting, that's their thing. It's pretty straightforward. Moving on to the next career, because everyone, when you think of, I don't want to go too much into Colonial Marines and beat the dead horse because you've probably all watched Alien. You've seen, those roles. Uh, don't have to go into it too much. The Colonial Marshal is the next one in the alphabetical order. Basically, think of like
Hey,
your.
Pon,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
who is your favorite Colonial Marine out of all the ones in the movies and in the series? Who's your favorite?
100% Bill Paxton as Hudson. Like 100%. Like it's not even close. I think in the movie Aliens, the one-liners from him were by far the best. I think he probably was the best actor in the whole cast. And I mean, he was annoying as hell, but I think everybody loved that character. I mean, maybe
Yeah, I
I'm
think
wrong,
everybody remembers him.
right? Um, but by far the best. How about you?
I liked him. I liked him a lot. Another one that oh man, I can't remember her name.
Ramirez,
Vasquez.
Rivera,
Vasquez,
Vasquez.
Vasquez. Yeah,
Hmm.
Yes, I like that. She was awesome. I love that character.
she
I
was
She
a
took
also
zero crap from anybody. I loved it.
exactly, and she had a sense of humor, and she wasn't bashful about. She was that was a cool character. I loved it.
Yeah.
The other one that didn't get a lot of play, but I really did like the character. I wish there would have been more to is the Sarge out of Aliens.
okay.
Hmm.
Pretty stereotypical sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
a classic character, but I don't
But
know.
I
I
think you could tell that he had a lot of love for his troops,
absolutely,
and I think that that showed with the way the character was played and the way that it was written, which is huge because sometimes, writers miss out on that sort of thing.
So who is your favorite Foxy of the
I don't
Colonial
know.
Marines?
That's a rough one because, growing up as a girl at that time, Vasquez, how are you going to beat that? She was a badass. Like she was almost as badass as Ripley, who survived aliens 3 times. Well, twice. The
Right.
aliens didn't really get her in the end. She got herself. Anyway, um, to have that sort of a role model as a girl growing up around that time, that's huge. You could either be a Disney princess or Vasquez. I mean, Vasquez all day.
Yeah, she's a badass.
she
Mhm.
was. She was.
It was Apone was the sergeant. Sergeant
Apone,
Apone.
Yeah.
yes.
I was blanking on it. It was bugging me. How about you, Rob? Who's your favorite Marine?
Well, I think they've been outlined for the same reasons.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, for the same reasons. They and again, as a kid, I mean, you're just, oh, it's just cool, But as an adult, you learn, you get to kind of, okay, oh, that's who that is, and that's who that is. You get a better understanding of who each of them are and why they are the way. I wish they all had lasted longer.
Yeah.
Uh, they didn't last very long.
So I definitely enjoyed Hudson the most, but if I had to be one of them,
Mhm.
I would have been Hicks. I thought I loved Hicks. Like if I was gonna be a Marine, I would want to be like Hicks.
Because he was
But
so cool.
yeah, he was
Mhm.
just he was just so chill, right? And just matter of fact, like no bullshit, handle your business. So yeah, Hicks is my. I'd want to be Hicks, but Hudson was the best, character in the show, in my opinion.
He had a
Mhm.
lot of
I
personality
mean,
in it.
having
Good.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Having personality and being the ability to make people kind of laugh in a shit situation is very underrated.
right. They have a talent for that. It's called banter, and it does have a mechanic in the game for relieving stress. So it's a marine talent. All right, get to the colonial marshal. Let's talk about them. Basically, it's kind of like the frontier lawman. I mean, like you can pretty much play it the way you want. Bounty hunter, probation officer, uh, just law enforcement and terraforming planet, you name it. I guess when you think of like a marshal, any characters in media come to mind, like or in the movies. You think somebody that fits that.
John's from Pitch Black.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think.
And
Go ahead.
his his dad in the later one, which one was it? It was
Mhm.
Oh, older Jones.
Riddick.
Yeah.
Yeah, older Jones. Yeah, Riddick.
Yep. I think in Aliens 3, you've got obviously the prison. Some of the the wardens and stuff were obviously, I think, would fall under that colonial marshal kind
Mhm.
of role. Um, they didn't really develop it that much, but trying to
Hmm.
think of anybody else.
That's an interesting take. I would think that the the officers at the prison would be officers.
Probably the higher up ones, but yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing. There's a blending sometimes where I think you can kind of have
There's
both
only
can be true.
it was only two. You had the warden
I
and
don't
you
know.
had one officer.
Wasn't there a third? I thought there was a. Well, maybe I'm remembering wrong. I thought there was a third one that got offed in the tunnels or whatever. But maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, I think there was only
It's been
two.
a while.
I think there's only two
Okay,
officers. Um, I could be wrong, but I think there was only two officers in there.
okay. It's been a while. I should probably go back and watch it. But yeah. I mean, anybody who's in charge, I think you could kind of make an argument they could be an officer or a colonial marshal. It really depends on kind of what skills they have. The officer, like what you're talking about, we'll get down to, they lean more into empathy and then commanding and manipulating people with words. And then obviously the colonial marshal is they're more of like the detective. I think if you were gonna like classify them more, they do have manipulation, so they do mix some of that. But then wits is their main thing, which is the intelligence, noticing details.
I think if we're opening that wide open and we're looking at all the different systems that are out there, a martial style character, I'm gonna have to go with Blade Runner, personally.
Okay, yeah, that would be a good one. They do have ranged combat, they have observation, and they have manipulation. So I think that, I mean, obviously, observation, you'd be hunting people down looking for clues. You got your gun, shoot the synthetics, right? And then manipulation to tell people what to do and get them to listen. I think another one would be in the expanse. Um, you have the belter,
Mm-hmm.
detective on the station. I'm blanking on his name. Uh, you know,
Same here.
yeah, lots of different characters of that type. I think it's an interesting role. It's just how do you build it, into a if you're like roughnecks and you're doing stuff on a ship, why is this marshal out there? Just trying to figure out why they would be in the group. But I think it'd be a fun character to play.
It'd be challenging. It'd be a challenging character to play because it would be very easy to fall into being just another member of the team type of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just another person in the crew. Um, and I don't think you're going to enjoy it as much if you do that.
Well, and it'd be fun to maybe play one that's like undercover. You're trying to fit in as a roughneck. You're
Right?
kind of
Right?
trying to play that role, and with your like I said, you can add one to any skill you want. So you could scatter those enough
How did
to
you must have drawn the short stick or something to become the colonial marshal that's undercover out trying to investigate an alien smuggling ring. I mean, what?
right. Yeah. Or maybe you're hired by a corporation, to get the dirt on somebody or a competitor. I mean, there's a million different ways you could play it. That's the fun part about it. I mean, you can kind of come up with anything you want. And literally getting into the working for the company, the next one is the company agent. And obviously, I think Foxy, you mentioned Burke, right?
Yep.
The weasel Burke, who is willing to screw everybody over, right,
I
for the
think Burke
bottom
was
line,
just
Mhm.
misunderstood.
For percentage.
for a percentage. Yeah. Um,
He was just trying to help. I mean, he did bring Ripley's cat back. I mean,
yep.
Yeah.
And then you
That's
had
what he was doing.
you had Cameron Diaz, right? Cameron Diaz and Prometheus, right? She was a corporate agent.
yep.
Very, very likable character. I think everybody really enjoyed that character. Um, Company agents, wits. It's about intelligence for them, which I was actually surprised. I thought that maybe they would have leaned more towards empathy and like manipulation and stuff. But the way they have the career path, it's wits, and then again they do have manipulation as one of their skills, but they don't put empathy as the primary attribute.
Well, if you think about the corporate agents in the lore for Alien, that's what they were. I mean, they weren't, empathy definitely was not even Burke's strong suit. I mean, he could do a fair job pretending at it, but it was pretty clear that that was not that
Right.
wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, convincing Ripley to go back after everything she went through. Um,
yeah, but that was more
yeah,
tactical. I mean, I don't think
yeah,
that was more empathetic. That was more, he knew enough about her and about her experiences that he kind of played that, he played that hand.
right.
Mhm.
And manipulated her,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. But he had, like you said, he had all the data on her, right? He was looking at her sheet. He
right.
knew she was having the nightmares. He knew what was going on. Um, So I don't think he was too surprised when she woke him up in the middle of the night and said that they were going there to kill them, right? Right, Burke? We're going there to kill them. Oh yeah, yeah, sure, of course.
You betcha.
you betcha. The next one is interesting, and I think we've discussed it in the past that we're surprised that it's even a career. Is the kid, which is different, right? I mean, you had Newt, obviously. We
Hmm.
had Newt, the kid, but yeah, like I'll go. The attribute is agility. So obviously, when you think of a kid, right, they Newt sneaking through all the tunnels and hiding in
Mm,
the, everything like that. And then they have mobility, which again, not a big surprise, right? Getting away from things. And then survival, staying alive. I mean, I think they almost base this on Newt. I mean, it sounds like her
yeah.
skills. And then observation. Would
Mhm.
you would you play a kid in Alien, and how would that look? Very curious how you would, throw them in and then play them.
That hmm,
I would have a hard time doing that just knowing that, I mean,
yeah.
your chances of survival in general are not super high. So going in as a kid knowing that, I don't know that I could do it.
Same, probably for the same reasons, honestly. Again, that sounds boring, but it'd be hard to step into those shoes and
Yeah.
not
No.
realistically want to crap your pants like as the character when faced with like a xenomorph or something like that. I don't, or not even just a xenomorph, but like any really shit situation that you might run across out in space. It's just I don't know. No, I will say this: there could be a dope like urban sprawl setting that I think where a kid character could thrive at. Maybe
Oh
you're
yeah, I
on
think
some
that
like. Go ahead, Foxy.
there are a lot of really good ways to play a character like this. I just don't think that I would be comfortable doing it. I think with the right person, putting together the right character for this, it could be an amazing character. Somebody really fascinating. I'm think about, when you think of kids in movies, kind of think of Newt, as she's probably one of my top 10 like kids in movies because look what all she survived. Look what she dealt with. And, you know, she ended up surviving longer than a lot of Marines did.
right?
Oh,
So
she
really, I
definitely
mean,
survived longer than a lot of Marines did because she was the only one
Yep.
left from the colonists.
hmm?
She honestly probably would have survived up until the thing went boom if the Marines never showed up. I mean, they accelerated. Like, I mean, she wouldn't have known like that it was going to go, nuclear, but
Yeah.
she probably would have been fine
Yeah. I
eating
mean,
and
just the
eat
fact that she was able to hide and, she was smart enough to notice that they mostly came out at night, you know? So
mostly.
I mostly, she was just such a solid character. And I feel like, you know, with the right backstory and the right person playing the character, it could be an amazing character. I just don't think that I could do it.
Well, and I mean, when you think about it, a kid, I mean, it doesn't really lock in a specific age per se.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
I mean, you could, I mean, you think about it like Harry Potter, right? They're all kids, and they were dealing with some crazy stuff. I mean, granted, it's a whole nother genre, but they're kids. Um, Lord of the Flies, right? They were
Hmm.
kids. I mean, there's a million things. It depends how young you want to play it. Like I agree. I think it'd be really hard to play like a 7-year old. I mean, right? They're just not.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be hard because what are you gonna do to realistically contribute? But a teen, I could see that not really very difficult. What do you think, Greg?
I like I said earlier, the kid would be challenging. I think for anybody really, the kid would be challenging to play, especially in the alien environment. But I, you know, I think you could have a lot of fun doing it. Um, you would have to really be into the role.
Hmm.
Um, because of the limitations that you're talking about. And yes, I mean, it doesn't have to be a 6-year-old or 7-year-old or whatever, 9-year-old, but there are going to be some limitations there because you don't have the skills an older person would have. You're not a space marine, you're not this, you're not that. Um, but hey, at some point here, I would definitely be willing to try it and create a kid to run with a campaign, knowing that the potential. But it's alien. The potential for your life to end is very high for everybody. So
Yeah.
um,
So what happens if you made the kid a synthetic?
Ooh.
well, that here's the thing. Okay, that's a really really good question. But then, would you do that? Because your choices then are to okay, Winona Ryder's character in
Yep.
because she would have basically been a kid, probably young adult, but I mean kid. But she was a synthetic. The key to it is she didn't know that she was a synthetic. Um, and that I think that would be really really neat to add that in there. The question mark of how did this kid survive? You know what I mean?
r-
Um,
Right.
and maybe the reason you survived isn't because you're, the super child like Newt is. I don't know if Newt would have survived a whole lot longer anyway. I mean, honestly, you get down to it. I mean, food becoming more scarce for her, clean water. I mean, she's gonna have to go further and further from her hiding place to get those things. And I mean, the aliens are not stupid animals. I mean, they're gonna set a trap for her, and only a matter of time. Um, but a you know a synthetic. I mean, you don't need those things. So
Right. All right. Let's move on to the next career path. Medic. Pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, empathy is their main attribute. That's linked to like medical skills. They have medical aid. They're one of the actually they're the only career path with medical aid. So if you want to have a score above a 3 in that, you have to be the medic. Um, they also have mobility, I guess, getting around and getting out of the way, and observation. So paying attention to stuff. I guess you want your medic to realize that your arm's bleeding and not your leg, right? So who are some of your favorite medics that you would kind of like want to recreate in the alien world?
the doctor in the prison.
Okay,
Yeah, he's a good one.
I did like that character. I mean,
Hmm.
because right, you're thinking he's just there as his job, and then you find out,
Right.
there's a little more to that story.
Ironically enough, for me, it's the combat medic from Band of Brothers.
That's
Okay,
funny because I was going to say the combat medic from Saving Private Ryan.
okay.
Yeah,
I li-
yeah.
what was? Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name. The
I
redhead, right?
can't. No, that was a sniper.
Oh, that's it.
Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, that was a sniper. He was a sharpshooter. I
Gotcha.
can't remember the medic's name either, but that man he was doing work. He
Yeah.
was doing work. The entire. I mean, obviously they do. Shout out to all the combat medics out there. Y'all are putting all that overtime.
I was thinking of like Hacksaw Ridge,
Yeah, Desmond Doss. Yeah.
right? And being a pacifist. Can you imagine in the alien world? Would that extend to
Oh God.
xenomorphs?
Probably not. Probably
Right.
not. I think he'd put a couple rounds on one of those. I
Yeah.
can see him like, you know what? You're not human, so you don't apply.
Right. Yeah. There's so many examples of and that's more. I mean, the combat medic. That is so. There are versions of Colonial Marines that are the medics. It's kind of like the sub careers. The medic in the book isn't so much a combat medic. It's more of the a typical doctor kind of
Right.
role. But I think for especially for me running a Colonial Marine thing, I go right to the combat medic also. And when shit hits the fan, whether you're a doctor on a ship or whatever, you kind of become a combat medic really fast, right? When face huggers and morphs are ripping people to shreds, and everybody's dying from like weird alien diseases and viruses and stuff.
Right. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, it becomes combat medic really fast. And then we get to the officer. We kept talking about the officer earlier, right? Greg, you like the officer?
Oh man, I don't. I'm not partial against or for the officer. I think the officer though definitely has a role to play in most alien stories. If you're not going to go this, the colonial marine route, then you're probably going to have an officer in your group. Um, Now they could get killed off right away. I mean, that happens. But maybe it's an NPC officer, which makes things interesting because then you don't have a leader in the group. It's the leader is personality instead of rank. Um, but yeah. Otherwise, officers can be fun as NPCs. I've never actually tried one as a player character. Um,
Well, I mean, they're heavily based on empathy, obviously, and out of all of the careers, they have both command and manipulation. So they're either going to tell you to do it, or they're going to try to convince you to do it, and then they throw in range combat in there. I guess when they don't, when you tell them to do it and they say no, and when you try to manipulate them and they say no, then you back up to your range combat. You put a bullet in them. I think that's kind of the theory with the officer. But yeah, I can see some issues. I guess how would you feel, playing in a game where someone has that clear role as officer and they're constantly telling everybody else what to do? Like as far as I mean, how do you think that works with player agency, right? Everybody who kind of wants to do their own thing. When you put someone in the role of being in charge just by their career, what do you think about that?
If it's, I think certain people could pull that off. And I think it could be really fun for the group to have somebody that was really good at it. So the player would have to have some of those skills to be able to make that work. If you were not comfortable, um, in a commanding position where you were, more or less giving orders and at the same time trying to create synergy in a group and things like that, then you wouldn't want to play an officer because you're not going to have a lot of fun with it.
Foxy, do you want to be in charge? Want to tell everybody what to do?
Absolutely not. Nope.
No. Rob?
No fucking no.
All
No,
right. And
absolutely not.
NP noted. NPC it is. Um, in my chronicles, I do have an officer, Sergeant Major Pike, and he is
I
very
like
much.
Pike.
Yeah, Pike is the typical. The crew calls him Banshee because, yeah, he screams and hollers. Um, but he is definitely the typical. When you think of Full Metal Jacket, right? With yell in your face, but when the shit hits the fan, he's the person you want to be with. So yeah, that's my officer probably. I do have hipster, which is lieutenant, but different personality.
He,
He's more
he's
hands off leadership.
he's the one I might shoot.
He might be the one you might shoot. Yep. Man, why you got to do that? Doing his job.
He's
Chill,
already
man.
plotting.
Yeah, he's always plotting. Well, that brings us to pilot, and that was Rob. You said pilot. Pilot is agility because that's hand-eye coordination, flying the ship, and all that fun stuff. That's their main
Yep,
attribute. Obviously, they have piloting, which can be ground, air. If it moves, boat. They have
yep,
range. They have range combat, shoot pistols, and then they got comtech because they got to fix their ship and stuff when shit breaks down. They got to rewire stuff and. Uh,
yep.
so that's the one that calls to you, right?
Indeed, and
Yeah.
especially that Comtech part. You look at again. I'll use the two inspirations for my character. Wash from Firefly and Joker from Mass Effect. Wash, especially if you look at like the Serenity, if you've ever seen the show. I mean, he took care of that ship, but there were instances where things are held together by duct tape, hopes and dreams, and a little bit of luck. And I like that aspect of the pilot. They also in a way get to turn ship into another character in and of itself,
For sure.
if played properly. And I think in the games like that where traveling or mode of transportation can is something that happens regularly, or in some cases that's the entirety of the campaign. You're on a ship or what have you. I mean, Spelljammer, for the D&D equivalent, Spelljammer is one of the best um, settings that I know of. Your ship or whatever vessel it is can become another character that you and the team can play off of. And for those who know me, pilot, someone that's not combat focused, especially is break from the usual norm for me. So that's part of the reason why I loved that character so much.
No, and I totally get it. I mean, when you think of Han Solo, right, the Millennium
Hmm.
Falcon. I mean, that
Yep.
was a character into itself. I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
and I think you can get emotionally tied to to a ship, right, or to a
Hmm.
spacecraft or whatever. Um, obviously, I mean, you think of even like Top Gun, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
you get kind
Yep.
of with the last one, Maverick, when he gets back in the F-14, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it was nostalgic.
Oh
Um,
yeah, nostalgic. I
yeah,
mean, he could even tell where things were just from memory. It was
right.
great. That definitely brought back a lot of memories for me because, I mean, the first movie was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. So
Foxy, what was your favorite ship or craft or car, or you have one?
It's gotta be. It is. It's a close tie between the Millennium Falcon and Serenity,
Yeah.
What about
just
the?
because.
yep, yep.
Raz, what do you got? You got
I was
give
just
me
gonna
like Herbie. Give me Herbie. Give me Herbie the
Herbie.
Love Bug. Yeah, Herbie
Christine.
the Love Bug. Generally,
Uh well, Herbie the Love Bug is kind of like the one I had in mind, which is Event
kid.
Horizon.
Oh no.
But
Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
my,
that is a scary ass ship.
that is
Wait,
a
well, I was
scary
gonna say,
ship.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's rewind that. We're not gonna just slide by that. The ship from Event Horizon.
Is the haunted ship.
yeah,
It
Well, I'm
was a
never.
character.
If space travel ever becomes a thing, remind me never get on a space a vessel with Greg.
I,
Because
I,
if you've ever seen Event Horizon, you know exactly why.
That
it
is
is.
the one movie in the last probably 20 years that truly scared me. Like,
Oh
I'll have
yeah,
nightmares. I love
absolutely,
it. I watch it every time I see that it's on, but I will have
absolutely.
nightmares.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that for me, and I know we're off on a little tangent, but that and The Ring,
Oh,
two two movies that for whatever reason creep me the hell out. More so Event Horizon than
I feel like.
I
Uh,
also like the Nebuchadnezzar, by the way. But
oh yes,
Mhm.
that's yeah, that's yeah,
that
it's
is a good
another
one.
classic one.
That is a good
That
one.
You know what? I think that's a great idea for a game though. Is an Event Horizon like ship. I mean, you almost think of it. It's like the hotel in The Shining, right? If the hotel in The
Yeah.
Shining was a ship flying in the darkness of space,
right?
it would be the Event Horizon. I mean that would be a good horror alien. Like why is like imagine that derelict ship. It's kind of rolling around and somebody, hey, let's go check it out. Let's salvage it. Ah, have fun with that.
Event
Yeah.
Horizon is another reason why I will never, if I ever become a space pirate or space anything, if I ever end up on a ship somewhere, please God,
see,
just hook a
see
brother up.
now,
I'm never stopping for derelict vessels ever. I don't care how much money I'm turning over. Hell no.
but the pilot that you played, by the way, in the UAS Wisp did stop for a derelict ship.
Only for the story. Okay.
Only for the story. Famous last words. Only for the story.
Yeah, he
We're
did it for the
using this as
story,
a
damn it.
learning experience. Do not stop
Right?
for the derelict ships.
Nope. Nope. I don't care.
Bad
Honestly, you could,
idea.
if the derelict ship had like a large enough porthole, you could see like billions upon billions of dollars just floating in. Don't stop. Keep going. I
Yeah.
promise you, it's not worth it.
For
Promise you.
There's a
for
reason why it's a derelict ship.
Exactly.
for anybody who's played the deep space like games, right? Like horror in space. Yeah.
Death in
Okay.
Space is one that we're gonna check out, by the way.
Okay. That sounds like a pretty cool system. All right. Roughneck. We get to the roughneck. Roughneck, their main thing is strength. Their skills are heavy machinery, which is like the loaders, fixing mechanics, which is all linked to strength, which is a little different, but I guess I see why they went there. Stamina and then close combat. Roughnecks can brawl. They can throw some fists and stuff. Obviously, in the first Alien, a lot of them were probably roughnecks, right? Kind of said, I think Robbie had space truckers, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Who was your favorite roughneck?
Um, Kurt Russell role. I think the name was Alex Burton. Getting the name
Oh,
Oh,
wrong.
Big
It's
Trouble in
from
Little China.
Big Trouble in Little
yeah.
Big Trouble in Little
China.
China. Yep, yep.
Wow.
Big
what
Trouble in Little China.
what does he always say?
I can't
Burton.
remember.
Jack Burton always said.
There
he
we go. It's
always
Jack Burton.
yeah,
Yep.
when he's at his little right, his little saying. They'd be like,
Uh
who's Jack Burton?
huh. Yep.
He.
Damn. Now I want to go watch that movie. I
I
do
know,
that after
right?
this.
Movie night.
That's such a good movie. Yeah.
That would be a fun that'd be a fun character to kind of play in an alien. That kind of personality, right?
It would. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like who gives a shit? Wise ass. Kind of sounds like a Raz kind of character, but
I did.
Absolutely.
I knew
Like
you
I
were going
said,
to
I
do
could see Raz playing a
who else has a roughneck that they can kind of that pops in the head when they think of the role?
Bruce Willis's character from Armageddon.
Yeah, they were all, I mean,
They
literally
were all
roughnecks,
roughnecks.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
miners,
That's another good
drillers.
character. Yeah. Or what? Oil, deep sea oil rig. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
if you had to drill anything.
I just come here to drill, lady. Me too. When
They
they're doing the
well,
physical exams.
Yep.
there there's a new series now. Oil, is it Oilmen, or I don't know if you, I think if it's on
Um,
FX.
it's with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember the name, but I
Is
saw
it
one episode
is
of
it
it. It's
is
actually
it
pretty good.
is it Landmen or something like that?
Landman. Yeah. There we
Yeah,
go. Yep.
right. I think you have a lot of good examples of roughnecks. I mean, really anyone who's out there working with their hands, I think you could almost make an argument that almost most farmers would be kind of like roughnecks too. Like just people that are out there, shit breaks down, you got to fix it.
Right.
Got to be, that your survival, your terraforming, you're a colonist, you're a colonist on a terraforming planet. Probably, you fall under that roughneck. I mean, it's probably the most common, I think, career that you see for for all the supporting cast, for all the NPCs,
I
stuff like that.
really just want to play a roughneck so that I can spend the entire session bitching about how I'm not getting paid enough.
Your back hurts.
Yeah.
Looking
I
for
got
your duct tape.
goddamn sciatica has been bugging me all fucking month. Come on, doc, give me some pills. Just complaining. That would be so unlike you too, to have a
Yeah, I
character
know,
that's
right? It would
ins
be, you
that would be, I would like to see that. I'd like to see that.
know.
And last but not least, the scientist. Uh, Obviously, wits. It's their thinking, their mind, observation. One of their skills, survival and comtech. They're the nerds, right? The nerds of the alien universe. I don't really, when I think of like the series, I don't really have one that jumps out at me. I mean, they were kind of like, when I think of it, they were always like the cursory cannon fodder for the Xenos when everything went to crap. The scientists are getting smoked left and right. Um, would any of you play a scientist? And like, what would that look like?
Hmm.
Foxy, you were gonna say something?
Go for it.
When I think of scientists in like the alien universe, I think of the scientists from Alien Resurrection that were basically, watching things happen from behind glass until all hell broke loose.
Right. Then they
I would
died
think,
horribly.
and then they died horribly because, they were doing bad things, and that's just karma. Um,
There's a
I
counter.
do think that you
There's a
could make a
counterpoint.
really interesting character.
I'm sorry. There's a counterpoint to those though with Prometheus. Oh, And I lost everybody. Welcome back, Foxy.
Hey.
Oof. Um. Okay, and there we go. All right, everybody's back.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
okay. So you were saying the counterpoint.
Yeah, I was
Wh-
just saying there's a
wh-
counterpoint I just pointing out there's a counterpoint to those scientists in the scientists in Prometheus.
Okay. Can you expand on that?
Well, no, I agree completely with what Foxy's saying when it comes to the scientists in what one was that? Evolution,
Alien Resurrection.
Resurrection. Um, because yeah, those scientists were I don't know, they were assholes.
Mm-hmm.
There was just no other way around it. Those yeah.
No.
That movie really reminded me of like what you would really expect of like the dystopian space story. You know what I mean? It's almost like it was a version of Doctor Who in many ways. Um, but Prometheus, the scientists there were not that. They were really out there to explore, and you know what I mean. They weren't looking to do genetic experimentation and create weapons, basically.
So what about David, the synthetic? I would argue he was a scientist, but he was a synthetic.
Well, and so was the synthetic in the first one, a scientist or a medic,
Ash.
maybe the medic, maybe he was a medic. Medic.
He was a
Ash.
science
Yeah,
officer. Ash
yeah.
was a science officer.
So, well, I tell you what, synthetics get a bad rap. I'm just saying, they do.
All because of Ash. I mean, look at Bishop. Bishop was a hell of a guy. I mean, he put himself in danger trying to save Newt.
Yeah, Bishop was a fantastic character all the way around. You know,
Well, that's the interesting point. I mean, any of these careers, you can choose to be a synthetic.
hey,
You
Mm-hmm.
synthetic
just,
lives matter. All right.
yeah. But you're right. I mean, the general like pop culture though for synthetics doesn't come a whole, like you mentioned, Blade Runner, uh,
Yes.
Terminator. I mean,
Well, the Ash, they played that so perfectly with Ash, and it definitely left. You know what I mean? Every time you seen after the first one, every time you seen a synthetic, if you've seen the first one, you automatically went to, oh, okay, what's wrong with this thing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's it gonna do? Who's it gonna kill? You know, kind of deal. So Bishop was a breath of fresh air as a synthetic that really didn't have an ulterior. Well, at least you didn't know. I mean,
right.
if he did, you didn't know about it. So
Yeah, I don't know why, but I always get the thing when I think of like synthetics, especially with Ash.
mm,
It totally reminded me of the thing. When he's like, "Ah," and then there's like he's
Yeah.
all over the place. It just I watched both of those around the same time, and that's why it just freaked me out, like the whole thing. Like, and so I'm not a fan of synthetics either.
nope. I yeah yeah. I don't want to derail us. That sent my mind spinning off in a different direction. But yeah,
Right. Well, that is all the careers. So that's the core book. Those are the ones you can pick. And honestly, like I said, if you want to make a career that doesn't exist here, you literally pick the attribute you think it goes with and the three skills that they would have. And it's as simple as that. And that's kind of what they encourage. You
make
can
your
go ahead and
own.
do that. Make your own. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah,
Just don't, go ahead.
all of Free League's games. They're all story driven games. So it really is, they encourage you to tell good story. It's not about the mechanics. The mechanics have a place, but it's not about, you're not playing a board game. You don't where you sit there and have to roll dice just to do anything. No, it's about telling good story and just having a good time and creating that saga with your friends. You know what I mean? Like the four of us sit down, do a role playing game. I mean, it's about us creating story together and kind of feeding off of each other and generating the world around us as we go. Um, and not so much about not the mechanics, the dice definitely have a place because there's just some things that you want to have that randomness, that chance in there. You know what I mean? Where if we could all be heroes all the time, then that's what we would do in every system. We'd all be the gods of the RPG that we're playing. Um, so the dice is kind of the balance that's in there. Are we ready to actually create a character? By the way, Pilot won the poll that I did.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that like 50% of the votes for that came from somebody.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm.
All right,
Yeah, why don't we make a pilot?
let's do that. There is a character sheet. So what? All you, man. You're leading the show. What are we doing? How do we make a character, Dark Pond?
Well, we already did the first part, which is the hard part, is figuring out what career you want to do. And then from there, I think technically the book says you should go to skills first. I'm more of like the attribute. I don't know why. Like
Okay.
I'm just wired. I want to put the attributes down first. Um, and I guess do we want
Well, you probably
audience?
we probably
Go
should
ahead.
we probably should know what role we are before we do attributes. Oops. Connection is interesting tonight. We're having storms up here in Wisconsin. So Vaughn and I are
Ah,
both up here and
Not a
high
problem. Yeah, we're having one
winds.
too. So
yeah, it was raining and kind of starting to spit snow when I was coming home from work. And I was like, I want more snow though.
So we'll give him a minute. It looks like he is completely dropped for a moment here.
Mm.
the last vestiges of winter.
Yeah, well, in like a
I mean, we got about.
in like an lion out like a lion out like a lamb. Isn't that what they say about March?
Am I
Yeah.
I
back?
think so.
You're back. Welcome back.
Welcome
Yay!
back.
We thought we
Okay.
would just leave you on screen waving at us for a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. So we were saying career, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably the better idea is to pick your career first because
Yep,
then
for
because
sure. You're supposed to. You're supposed to do career first.
and we
That's
got that.
which we got pilot.
Mhm.
The rules kind of go into skills. Then I'm gonna just say I prefer doing the attributes myself. It
Hmm.
really doesn't make a huge difference. I don't. I think it's probably because of I'm wired to old, like D&D and stuff, which that's always the abilities or attributes. Um,
Well, and to be fair, I'm looking at the page from the book and it says choose your career, spend your points on your attributes. I think it
yep,
goes there's more information on skills and stuff, but yeah.
right. So we can go up to, well, let's see, how good of a pilot do you want them to be? I think I'm a min maxer. I'm gonna, and this is my confession. So I am a power gaming mid maxer. This is not my first confession, and will not be my last. So I apologize for
Hey,
that.
the first step to recovery, man.
Got to
So
admit you've got a problem.
I myself, if I'm going to be a pilot, I would say agility is your main. I want to be the best pilot I can be. Rob, do you want to be the best pilot you can be?
Be all that you can be.
So you can pump that. You can put a 5 in there. I
Yeah,
mean
that's
that
what I did when I made mine.
yeah, that is the highest
Oh,
a non-synthetic can get.
not 50. 5.
Not 50. That would be yeah. You would be able to fly through black holes with that score.
Well, maybe you're piloting the Event Horizon. You don't know.
Right, we'll keep going back to the event
I mean, that's
horizon.
Greg putting in
Gonna
the
have
numbers, so you never know.
I'm gonna have nightmares about the event horizon. Right.
Mhm.
I'm honestly probably gonna go watch it after we're done.
It's tempting.
Just eat
Uh,
some pizza and watch some Event Horizon. Why not?
so you can put twos now. You can only go as low as two. Um, you have five, so what? We got 9 left. 9 points left. Uh, I guess what is it? What kind of pilot is this? This. I mean, I think I would lean towards just rounding it off, put a 3 and all the other attributes, unless there's something that this pilot really wanted to focus on. So, like Rob, you were saying, you want to have that range combat, right? You want to be able to like,
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, you know what? 'Cause I actually have to my character sheet.
okay,
Not to get off on a huge tangent here, but just so I'm not feeding y'all bullshit. Thankfully, mobility, which is the trait, is yeah. I did a 3 in ranged combat, but my other highest stat wise was wits. Because again, I wanted to give him. I think I put a 4 there, so I wanted to give him something to do that wasn't like combat focused. Again,
Mhm.
this is my personal thing. I wanted to to make a more how do I put this utility focused character. He was
okay,
good at something in combat, so he wasn't a complete waste of space if they got to do a scrap. But his area of expertise lay you know definitely in utilizing ship, utilizing uh, vehicles and stuff to win. Yeah,
okay. So, what do we want to bump that up to like a 4?
for wits, yeah. I mean that's what I would do personally.
That's
So,
what I
so
would do.
okay. So this is a smart pilot.
Oh yeah,
All right.
he ain't no dum dum. Even though he got screwed over by a certain someone.
I was just gonna say the dum dum piece might be questionable, but I mean,
Hmm.
Mhm.
Uh,
All
considering
right.
the situation, he was distracted. All right.
So that literally leaves a 3 and a 2. I mean, those are the only other options. So, uh, strength is either a 3 or a 2. Are they
I
uh,
mean,
are they skinny? Are they scrawny little pilot?
Why couldn't he be empathetic?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you put the 3 in
a
empathy, they'd be. I
little
don't think there's
scrawny.
any. I don't think there's any skills that you're really using a whole lot in empathy under empathy because I don't know if they can how easily they can see all the skills linked, but those are pretty static. So
I mean, to be
obviously,
completely honest, who gives a shit about people's feelings when you're the guy flying the ship? You know what I
all
That's
right.
right.
mean?
So
You want to get off this rock, you got to have somebody to fly you.
That's right. You're in my ship.
oh
There's the
so
door if you don't like that. If you don't like me.
so 3 strength it is.
Yeah, you can always
In
get
order to
out,
nuke
right?
the site from orbit, you have to get into orbit.
All
Right.
right. That's right.
Doesn't matter if you're nice about it.
That's right.
All right. So then piloting, you can put threes and I mean you have 10 points for skills. Obviously, you don't want to do probably 3 in your main skills and ignore everything else. Piloting, I'm assuming piloting you put at a 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to max out your main skill.
Okay.
Imagine being a shit pilot. that
Well, that could be fun role play. Like,
could be. Yeah, it could
how do
be.
you
It's like,
how do you how do you still have a job? Like
yeah,
your dad owns the court. He's a high level senior
yeah.
executive, or Why does this guy keep getting to fly?
I mean, not even just it, but how do you have a job? How are you still alive?
Right? You know?
Autopilot.
Oh yeah. A,
Autopilot.
a lot of it's remote.
That
Mother,
is true. Yeah, that is true.
mother. It's mother.
Uh,
Mother.
that was weird. I ain't gonna lie. That was an awkward aspect of like Alien, especially the first Alien movie. I think you don't really see Mother in the neck, and I could be wrong on that, but definitely see the Mother character in the first one. That was always odd to me, even watching it as an adult. I'm like, I would never trust my life doing it. Like, hell no, absolutely not.
You
It
have to
was too
think though,
much.
the second and third movies came, what, 70 some odd years after the first one?
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's true.
the corporation could have moved past having Mother as the way to give basically the orders to the crews.
True, true, true.
Well,
Well, mother's mother. Oh, go ahead.
the technology, um, advanced.
Hmm.
That's the. I mean, if you read through the lore, the technology, Mother's still there because Mother is basically the primary operating system that was developed for space travel. Um, yeah, you don't really see it in the later versions, the later movies and things like that. Honestly, I think that was just kind of the thing they were doing back in the '70s when the original Aliens movie was made. Um, '70s, early '80s, you kind of had the talking computers thing. Um, but Mother was developed as the primary method for space travel because you know to be able to control the space lanes and things like that for people to be able to plot autopilot courses. So
It's like the light speed computer, right? Like
yeah,
almost like the Star Wars navigational droids and all that stuff. That's their version of the mother. And probably life support and monitoring everything on the ship and monitoring like any. I mean, because you always hear mother when something goes wrong, right? Even in Aliens, that's when you start hearing mother saying the
Hmm.
ship will, self-destruct. Station will reach critical levels.
Yeah.
wait a minute. They
Sure.
call the GM in this game a game mother, right?
Game Mother.
They do call it a game mother,
And you just said
but
that every time you hear mother, yeah, oh, got it.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And it's not spelled mother like Mother. It's acronyms.
Right.
So I forgot what the whole thing is. I mean, off the top of my head, but uh, it's a cool thing. I mean, it's funny too because when you see in the Alien, I mean, it's literally like a DOS program, right? I mean,
Right.
it's
Hmm.
like super basic. I mean, if they were to have made it today, it would have been a freaking like Halo AI, like Cortana, right? It would have been something probably more tangible, more 3D, right? I mean, I would think they would have done that differently. That's what they knew. So, uh, DOS prompts and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we got a 3 in piloting. This guy doesn't like to crash. We got to that point, right? We have 7 more points to throw out there. What does the pilot want to be good at? Comtech, do they want to be able to fix shit when it breaks?
I would think so.
I mean, you got to be
Because,
able to fix
there's going to be
shit.
stuff going wrong on the ship because it's, space and landing on planets and all that stuff is, rough on any sort of craft that you would pilot.
So is like a 3, putting it at a 3? Getting it up to as high as you can at a 3, is it that important?
I would say, I don't know, maybe two, because I mean you've
Just
already got a four in wits.
just kick it. It
So
always works for me.
Yeah. I I do have a weird way of like when I make a character, I kind of I don't know why I like to do like piloting like out of three. That's their main thing, and then I
Hmm.
like to find their like what's the next thing like they're a little less at and put those at twos. And then, okay, what do I want them to actually kind of at least have some? Like, can they shoot a gun? Can they throw a punch? Can they whatever? And I'll put those at ones. I don't know
Hmm.
why. Like, I don't know where I get that. I hate seeing zeros in skills. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's just me. I don't know why. I just like to have if at least a one in thing. I don't know where that comes from.
Well, I mean, I
Probably,
think it's valid, but also you have
yeah,
to remember too, and the audience. I mean, we haven't really gone over mechanics, but like when you roll, if you're rolling for say manipulation, but you have a zero in manipulation, you still roll the two
right. Your empathy. Yep.
in empathy. So,
Yep. Yeah, you can roll for everything. I mean, everything. It's
hmm
just if you don't have a score in it, you just so like you said, you just roll the attribute,
Right.
and then
hmm
you can always push it.
right.
Which we'll get into that
It
another time.
it helps overcome the idea that if because the really rules heavy systems tend to lead you to believe that, well, if you don't have any skill in that, it means you can't do it. And that's just not true. You don't have to be skilled at something to be able to try it. Let's say that doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but you can try it.
hmm
Right.
You can certainly try.
A 5-year-old could drive a car, but doesn't mean they're going to get far or be very good at it. They'd have to be kind of tall too, but anyway.
Fun story. I actually tried that when I was 5. My mom went into the grocery store and I shifted the car into neutral and it rolled out into the street.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Yeah. Luckily, everybody stopped and didn't run into the car. But yeah, funny story. I've been there.
All right. So
Yeah,
what
I think probably a two in Comtech.
two?
I like two. I would concur.
All right.
Range, should we put a one? They can shoot a gun. They're just not the greatest at it.
Yeah, because they spent all their time training on how to be a good pilot, not how to shoot a gun, but they did have to learn how to shoot a gun.
Okay.
I mean, you would think so. You know, can't have no scumbags trying to steal your ship.
That's
So that
right.
leaves 5 points, but you can only put ones. So you could pick 5 skills to put at a one. I think one you would want to have is heavy machinery because that comes
Hmm.
down to like fixing the mechanical parts of your craft or
Yeah.
your vehicle.
Nope, I think
I
that's good.
what would you all agree like having survival and stamina both at a one is always a good bet?
Oh yeah, oh you got to put something in there.
Hmm.
I would also put a one in observation
Okay,
personally.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And just for clarity, when you think of survival and stamina, stamina is like you're resisting poison or a virus or getting sick or passing out, getting tired from swimming. Survival is more like finding a way to survive on a hostile planet, or your vac suit gets ripped and you're trying to.
Wow. Welcome back, Foxy.
It is not interneting.
No, it's not interneting. It's acting really weird tonight. All right, you're all back.
Yay! So I don't know if what got cut off, but just for survival, obviously, you're in space, you're on inhospitable planets. Survival is how you get fix your suit or find water or get more oxygen or figure ways to survive when you're going to die. So probably not bad to put a one in there.
Okay.
So how many is that?
I think we're at
Too small
12.
for me. Oh, that's too many. So you get 10.
10. Okay, we're at 10.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's it for skills then.
Look at
which
this guy with
then
no empathy at all. He just 2 dice from empathy.
that's that's
Look, man,
average.
you don't need no empathy in this universe. All right.
So your health is based off of your strength. So it's just straight up. You have 3 for health.
And all right, health.
And when you run out of that, you're broken and you're probably dying or really, really, really hurt. And just to put that in context, for like when I know we're going to play out a little scenario next week, but most standard weapons, firearms, do 2 damage. So if you have 3 health, no armor, and you get shot with a weapon that does 2, any one more success, like if they roll 7 dice and they get 2 successes, you're broken, just like that. So you pretty
Broken
much
is
could be
not
out.
dead though. We'll talk
No,
about
it's
that
not.
next week. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not. It could be. It depends how lucky or unlucky you are, basically. Yeah. But and then obviously if you have a medic, that's when you really want one. So let's look at. So now we've got. I mean, you've got your main right character
Yep.
concept, what they look like. I think the next thing you kind of want to look at is figuring out your personal agenda.
Hmm.
What drives this character? What do they want? Why are they doing what they do? Rob, what was your pilot's like? What was their thing? Why do they want to be a pilot?
Well, was, and he was in the last conflict. I can't remember the details from that one. So he was basically a military pilot. He was a former Marine dust off pilot. So that was kind of his why. And from that, it was a transition to working for the corporations because they paid better. No,
Okay, some
better money. Didn't really have to worry about if he was going to get shot out of the sky.
all
Cushy
right,
job till his captain betrayed him.
nice. So basically, he thought easy street, cash in the eddies.
Too
All right,
much. Or wait, is it what is it
the credits.
in
Yeah,
is it credits or is it New Yen? I think you might be right. I think it's credits.
I think it's credits, but I think either way, I would.
You're right.
Yeah,
Thinking of shadow runs. That's why I said New Yen.
So
Nuyens.
I
Yeah,
summarized all that for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Nguyen was definitely Shadowrun, Eddie's Cyberpunk, credits. Either way, it's money. I always like the concept. I don't know why, but I always like pilot concept. Their agendas. They're like an adrenaline junkie. Like they love flying by the seat of their pants. You know, drop ship pilot. Any moment you can hit a mountain. And they just kind of like the adrenaline jumping out of a plane,
Well,
jumping out of a spacecraft.
I encourage you to create something that's not the the typical trope.
Yeah.
Create something
Well,
interesting.
yeah, with the agendas, I mean, you kind of have your personal agenda, but then you also have a character background where that can kind of get into, you know, it almost seems to me like your personal agenda is kind of what people see,
Right.
kind of what you can kind of, but then you go deeper into the background and then find out, okay, what really is going on. Um, the next thing they kind of request for players is to pick your buddies and your rivals. So you pick a buddy out of everybody who you're playing with, or I mean, it could be an NPC. Pick someone that is literally your buddy. Who
Be
who
the
do you get
cat.
along with? Yep, could be. You'd be lonely. They wouldn't talk much, but yeah, that might be a good thing. And then on the flip side, you pick a rival, which
Perk.
often is whatever character Raz is playing.
What? Oh.
I'm not speaking for me. I'm just saying I was looking at some of the other characters and I noticed a lot of people a lot of people had put Haywire, which happens to be the character you're playing.
Yes. Yes, I am. Yes, I am playing Haywire at GaryCon in 2 weeks. Both
Yes.
days.
And we'll see how many people. So we won't pick buddies and rivals in the beginning. I'll let that happen as we role play. And at the end, I'll ask, who would you
Everybody's gonna
consider your
pick me as
buddy?
their buddy.
I hope so. I hope so. That would be great.
Either that or they all pick me as their rival and then realize that I'm the sniper in the group.
Right. Well, and it's so with the buddies and rivals. I mean, it's not really. I mean, it doesn't have a huge thing. It's more for the role of the game. But it just adds to the story. I think the next thing you kind of look at then is equipment, which I don't know if we want to get too deep into that because I mean they have suggestions for gear, like starting gear for all of the careers and cash. I think if you're playing obviously like a one shot,
You know what
the cat.
hey
Yeah, go
Chad,
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
well I Foxy hasn't had a chance to really add into this for this pilot character. So what kind of gear would you like?
I mean, I feel like I don't know. I feel like you're gonna want a gun
Yes.
just because you don't want anybody stealing your ship. And then yeah, I find it interesting that for starting gear listed for pilot, you can have a system diagnostic device or a compression suit. Like, okay, so I mean, I would go with flares over a hand radio personally.
I keep thinking in Aliens when they throw the flares down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, would a hand radio probably be more, useful as a pilot? Probably, but I'm still in the brain space of boomer. Just want to blow shit up. So we're going with flares.
So how
Flares?
big of a gun? How big of a gun does your pilot want, Foxy?
I would say you'd want something that was kind of small because you wouldn't want it to get in the way of any sort of moves you would make with your agility. Carrying around a big old gun and, you know, it could weigh you down.
Makes sense.
Big
I just
enough to
keep.
be scary, but not big enough to throw you off balance, I guess.
I think it was in Aliens. I think the pilot, she was Pharaoh or something like that. But I think didn't she have a handgun when the she was it Spunkmeyer?
Hmm.
And she's like Spunkmeyer, and then she turns around and sees it. I think she reaches for a pistol, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I can't imagine she had like a rifle strapped while she's
No.
flying. So you said you out of the two, you can pick a. Sorry, go back. You can pick the diagnostic tool or a
Compression suit,
compression suit, which I assume is if you atmosphere in the ship, right?
I would assume.
Right. So you can pick one thing to find a problem before it becomes a problem, and you can pick the other thing that you can stay alive when there is a problem.
Hmm.
I
So
want
the
both.
question is, Do you want to keep yourself alive no matter what, or do you want to make sure that you can get everybody off this rock?
I would choose one. I don't know the rest of you. Always get your mask on first. They always say that when you're flying.
That's
You put your
true.
mask on
That's true.
first.
Put your oxygen mask on first, and then you can help those sitting around you.
Yep. Or you could not help them. Let them fend for themselves.
And get a
Oh,
bigger
oh.
share.
Yep. I mean, look,
Okay, Bert.
what why we gotta cut the pot 6 ways and not 5 ways or even
Oh
4?
man, we found our Burke.
Hmm.
Just
Well, and the
saying.
thing is,
Just
a
saying.
lot of the gear is explained more in another part of the book.
Yes.
And so my issue is that my ADHD does not allow me to look at a PDF on the computer. So I printed out just the character section of the book.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I mean, and then there's talents. I mean, that's a whole
Talents.
nother section. Yeah.
So let's talk about the
Uh,
talents because there's some good stuff in there, and the talents also help you define the character.
Hmm.
yes. What makes your pilot different than every other pilot? Otherwise, you're cookie cutters, right? So talents, you get into like what makes them special. In the case of the pilot, well, there's also general talents, but the pilot, every career has three. There's three that they assign as like this is a career talent. I'll just go through the ones for pilots. First one is full throttle. It says you like to go fast, really fast. I think this one's for me. When piloting a spacecraft, you get a +2 modification to piloting, obviously the roll for any accelerate or decelerate action. Now, honestly, that's pretty limited when you think about it. Like, so for accelerating or decelerating, get a +2, but for everything else, you don't. Um, okay. The second one is like the back of your hand, which you pick one vehicle, and it's actually specific. So you pick one specific vehicle. It's this dropship. It's that armored fighting vehicle. Choose You choose it, and basically you get a +2 to piloting with that. I mean, it's just overall for anything you do. Which okay, I think the full throttle one, if you're constantly switching different vehicles, might get more out of it. But for the most part, I like the back of your hand out of the two. The last one is reckless, which again I probably was that's made for me. You live for the rush of adrenaline through your veins, pushing harder than others before. You can push any skill roll based on agility twice, not just once like other characters. And each push increases your stress by one. So for the rules, you can always decide to push a roll. Want more results or you fail, you want to try to pass. And that adds, as we'll get into the minutia of the rules next week, it adds a stress dice. And you get to re-roll as many dice as you want and add the stress dice. So you have another chance of getting a 6. The caveat is if that stress dice rolls a 1, you automatically fail. And it can be pretty spectacular how you fail. So normally you can only push once, obviously, and this allows you to push twice, which means, man, you can rack up your stress pretty quick. I don't know if you've played a game of, with this kind of stress system that Free League has, but that gets pretty hairy quick when you start piling on. I think even in The Walking Dead, we got a pretty good taste of that. Of the three, which one calls to you? Like, which one is your pilot going to have?
Feel like reckless would be the most useful in most situations.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, the other 2 are very specific to certain situations. But if you can push twice on any skill roll based on agility, that gives you way more options to use that particular talent.
Yeah, it doesn't even limit it regarding piloting. So like if it
Yeah,
was a
it's just agility.
yeah, mobility, like you're trying to get away from a xenomorph and you fail and you're falling down on debris, push, you fail, but you don't roll a one on that stress die. Yeah, you're gonna roll it another time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just to me, plus it calls to the whole adrenaline rush situation for a pilot, you know.
For sure.
Absolutely. I push that shit. If I do it 3 times, I'm doing it 3 times. My guy's living.
Yeah, I do like reckless. I think of all three, and then the other option is you have general talents, and there's plenty in there.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're just little things that you can add. And I mean, as you if you play a campaign mode, I mean, you can gain experience and add some of these character could develop, and that's
Yeah,
the typical RPG kind of style. You're playing story, not so much. But nothing says you can't have more than one talent.
yeah. And I think the good thing about the general talents too is that they give you some really good ideas on what to do for a character that may not that you may be making that doesn't really have a specific career as they're written in the book. If you're coming up with your own career path, the general talents give you a lot of options for different things that you can do with that.
Right. Also, like stealing talents from other jobs. Um, in the Colonial Marine book, they have specialists, which some of them are like mixtures of Marines and then like scientists. The Seaburn specialist is one of them, and I'm a big fan. I have like all the talents. I don't know why, but the scientist has a talent called analysis, which I love, and it's basically it's like the old D&D where you could like commune with like an outer planar being and ask some questions.
Mhm.
Analysis is very similar where you can roll dice. Like let's say somebody starts barfing black blood and twitching, you can roll analysis as a scientist, and you can ask the DM like a question for each success. Is this an alien virus? The game mother says yes or no, and literally that's how that skill plays out. I don't know why, but I love that. I love that you can almost break the fourth wall, almost like
That is cool.
yeah.
The
That's my favorite.
the GM is not required to give you a like such a close-ended answer as yes or no, though. By the way,
Yes, correct. I mean, they can be well, kind of like in D&D, right? The outer planar can be vague or it can be, um, but the more successes, it's kind of like the hot or cold kind of concept. If you get a lot of successes on it, you should be able to at least find out like, should this be something we shouldn't breathe? And you kind of get the figure like that would be a good idea not to, things like that. But I don't know why that's out of mine is my favorite talent. I don't know if you guys have gone through the talents and there's any that really like yourselves or
mm,
Quick draw is cool. You can draw your weapon so quickly it doesn't cost you an action.
Rob, do you have any?
Um, Honestly, I think for me, mine was full throttle.
Yeah.
Just go fast.
Hmm.
Still, just go fast. That's it. Just put. Look. If I can outrun it, it can't kill me, right?
The other one that really I find interesting is the kid talent. One of the kid talents they have beneath notice. and it basically says, um, so there's some attacks in the game, like even like xenomorph is a good example, where it will automatically kill you.
Hmm.
It's just if they roll this, it's an automatic. The kid has talent that they can actually avoid that. They're the only career that can avoid that. Um, I find that interesting, but I mean, it's kind of fitting, right? Because I think everybody agrees killing kids in games probably is still not really considered non-taboo.
They
So
they did
Yeah, it's
wandering.
not great.
yeah, so they added that in there. I think it's kind of like their ripcord for the kid. Like, yes, you should be instant dead, but no, you get to re-roll and they have to roll something else on the chart instead of instant death.
That is
The
cool.
free league systems can be very forgiving and unforgiving at the same time. That's really the easiest way to look at it is there's a lot of opportunity for you not to die, but it also is very clear on certain things. You're dead. There's no magic spells, no reset button. You died.
Yeah. One of the things that I really appreciate about the free league systems in general is that, you could be playing and where, like say D&D, you would have to roll for pretty much everything. If it's
Yes,
something that your character would do or would know how to do, and there's no question that they would know how to do it, you can just do it.
right.
Rolling is really meant for things that are, can they do this or not? Are they in such a precarious position that the stress might cause them to fumble this whatever it is? So it allows you more space for storytelling, and the roles are really just to add to suspense, not to decide if you can do a thing or not.
Yeah, the rolling is really used. You roll dice for the critical moments. That's really where it comes
Hmm.
down to. I mean, you can roll. Um, so my philosophy running these games is really simple. I'm not going to make you roll for everything. I'm just not. If you are telling the story and you're telling me that you go jump over the fence, I'm not going to make you roll to jump over the damn fence. I mean, what good does that do for the story? You know what I mean? Does it do any good for you as a character? But now you could decide, hey, you know what? There's a chance I might not make it over this fence. And if you want to roll for it, then that's on you. If you do roll and you fail, then I expect you to RP that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only caveat, jumping the fence or like tying two ropes together and climbing out a window, yeah, what's the big deal? Now, if there's a xenomorph coming after you and you're trying to do it stressed,
Now you're rolling.
Hmm.
or you're trying to jump over the fence and there's something coming after you and you're scared,
Hmm.
getting shot at. That's where I think you have to differentiate as a GM, right? There's a
Hmm.
difference. There's a difference in climbing. I can go outside right now. I got a 6 foot freaking fence. I'm sure I can get over it. It might not look pretty. I might fall in the snow on the other side. Big deal. I'll get over it. And I'm fat. Now you look at like if I'm being chased by a freaking German Shepherd that's trying to bite my ass, that might look a lot different. And I think that's how that would call for a roll. And
Hmm.
I'd probably fall face first and the German Shepherd would eat my throat. But yeah, I mean, obviously you got to know, you know, the difference.
Right, and different systems were created different ways. A lot of it just depends on how what do you want to do. Are you setting down for the story? Or well, standing or whatever you're doing? But is that what you're doing? You're telling story with a group of friends. Whether you like them or not sometimes is optional. Um, or are you playing a board game? And you
And
can you can tell story with both. You know what I
Hmm.
would
mean?
you agree? Would you agree though that that was probably bred in the old school RPGs?
Oh,
So like,
absolutely, absolutely.
if you played D&D like first edition,
Hmm.
you were a rogue. you had a 37% chance to move silently. You had like a 27% or 25% chance to hide in shadows.
Yep.
Those were two separate rolls.
Yep.
And then if you wanted to hear something, you rolled a 35% because you were an elf. And then you had a little bonus. And then if you wanted to pick a pocket, that was another pickpocket, which was a different percentage, right? You literally, that's how
Yep.
it was back in first edition.
You
So we
bet.
rolled for
Well,
I
and
mean,
D&D is
I think
still that way in a lot of ways. It's designed to be a
yeah,
dungeon crawl. I mean,
right. But at
it's
least they combined it, right? Stealth
right.
is stealth, like, right? I mean, it's
I'm not knocking D&D by any means. I mean, because
no,
I started
No, I
out
think
playing Dungeons and Dragons. I started out playing basic Dungeons and Dragons, the original box set. Um, but it was definitely I can tell you from my experience starting out with that set, playing that game, it was definitely designed as an adaptation of a board game. It was a board game with role playing. That's really all it was. And that's, you could use your imagination in role play, or you could just sit there and roll dice, and if you wanted to build out the scenery and have miniatures or whatever you wanted, then move your pieces around the board. Um, and there's a lot of really 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 fun board games. I want to just not knocking board games.
oh, it was chainmail, right? I mean, they were doing mass combat recreations like Civil War battles and stuff like that. They made rules for mass combat, and then literally they had the idea, hey, what about this like one hero? Like we focused on, instead of the whole unit of archers or whatever, there's this one hero. And what happens if he went and did things, or she on their own? And that's literally how they came up with it. But yeah, they went from mass combat rules and got it crunched down to like individual heroes. So yeah, I mean, you rolled for everything. Everything was a percentage. Um, There's a war game. Oh, I forgot what it was, and we played it last year at Gary Con. It was like the Red Baron. I don't know if you remember the name of it, but so
I
so
can't think of it.
yeah, Gary invited this guy to come and show his game off. So he was a kid when he made this. Now I'll look into it and I'll try to get the answer. But he was there running it still. He's run it every year like that. Gary Con has been around, and he's been at the first Gen Con. He's been at every game, and he runs this like Red Baron, like air dogfighting, and he started it when he was 14. The rules are ridiculous. There's so many rules. Like in charts, you got to track. You can accelerate and dive this speed and this. I mean, it was fun, but holy man, there was a lot of rules to it. It was overwhelming. So literally, they had people there to hold your hand and like, you can do this, you can do that. You got to roll this. Your fuselage took this damage. Your right wing took this one.
Right.
Roll to see if you had a critical. I mean, it was so much, but it literally just felt like that old. That was just the way RPGs were. I don't,
Yep.
like even the old Star. There was a Star Trek uh, RPG that was more of a board game, but it had ship combat that again was so many rules,
a
and
lot a lot of the classic games that are out there, the D&D, the Star Trek, Cyberpunk, the early Cyberpunk versions, the combat in there was location hit locations, and
right,
you had to call out the location that you're aiming for if you're going to do an aim strike, stuff like that. There's a game out there by Steve Jackson Games called Car Wars.
mm,
um it's a very fun little game, and the rules to it are not necessarily super complicated, but the fact that you have all these hit locations, and each hit location has its own statistics, and it was just like, wow, okay.
well, and guys, if anybody listening or watching wants to know more about any of these games that we're talking about, guys, be sure and join the Discord and let us know.
And make sure you
'Cause
come
we're
back and watch
and
RPG
make sure
Deep
you come
Dive.
back and watch when we talk to them. Yeah, because I mean, that's kind of what we're working on doing here is going through different game systems. And I have a whole bunch that I'm interested in talking about, but I think we all kind of want to know what everybody else is interested in talking about as well.
There are a ton of systems out there that I'm sure none of us have heard of, or
Hmm.
some new additions that you guys might have kind of run into and really want to talk about. Again, feel free to bring it up in the chat, or if you, hopefully, you are a part of our Discord. If you're not, please join. Links are in the chat. You drop us a line there, like, hey, look, I ran across this new system. Like one of the ones that I'm excited about discussing when it finally launches is Trench Crusade. If anyone's heard of that one, that one's it's a cross between a TTRPG, but it's more akin to like Warhammer 40k, the war game. But it looks really good,
Interesting.
really really good.
Free League is also introducing Invincible, by the way. The
Yes.
RPG.
Oh
I'm
yeah, that's right. Did hear about that. Yep.
I played a lot of Marvel, the old Marvel RPG, which was
Hmm.
like it was so fun. And honestly, I say I played it. Really, you would randomly roll for your powers, like in this game, and you would roll, like you would sit down and roll, and your character would be ridiculous. Like I have ice magic, like, but I then have a tech suit, and then, like, it was just, your characters normally sucked. I mean, they were just ridiculously, because it was just chance, and then the level of powers they were. I mean, your character could roll, and more often
I
than
used
not,
to wandering.
yep,
I don't think I have them anymore, but I used to have the old Marvel games, the DC
yes,
game,
yep,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Yeah,
yeah. And I mean,
Wait, I could be a
it was
Ninja
fun.
Turtle?
you could.
You could,
You bet.
yeah.
That
I'm
actually
down.
was a
Let's
pretty
do it.
cool game, by the way. Well, is a pretty cool game. I enjoyed the hell out of that when I played it.
Who's your favorite turtle, Foxy?
Raphael?
Yeah, good call.
Donatello.
When I was super young, it was
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. But as I grew older,
I could see
um,
Rob.
I
Michelangelo,
can
baby,
Yeah.
all
I can
day.
absolutely like just from watching the movies. I went in loving Michelangelo and left loving Raphael.
The reason why
Just
I've
because
always
Donatello is purple does not mean that
Yes,
he
it
has to
does.
be my
Yes, it
favorite.
does. Yes, it does.
that's
No.
true.
Oh,
That's what you hear. But I loved Michelangelo from beginning because of his love of pizza. Pizza is one of
see,
my
it's
like
what I figured.
top three comfort foods of all time. Um, but I love him even more now because if you read the last Ronin comics, which is a graphic novel slash comic of the Teenage Mutant Turtles, it's dark,
It
really
is
really
dark,
dark.
dark.
And you see Happy Go Lucky Mikey go through some stuff. So I
Is that
have
the last Ronin? Is that the
Hmm.
last
yes, the
Ronin?
last Ronin. Yep.
And who is
Yep.
Raph? Is Raph the last one, or is
No,
it
it's Mikey.
Mikey?
Mikey.
Yep.
Okay,
I love how
So
we're
I'm
talking about the Ninja Turtles like they're, people that we know.
people.
listen. For a '90s kid, '80s '90s kid, you grew up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, I remember watching the live action movie, one of the only good
Hmm.
ones that came out in the '90s when I was a kid. Man, love that movie. Well, both of them. Well, actually, no, there were three of them. Yeah, there were three of them
Yep.
before they did the remix. And playing the game on Super Nintendo and watching the TV shows.
Hmm.
Huge Teenage
So
Mutant Ninja Turtles fan.
to get a couple more things out here before we actually shut this thing down. One is, if you have not followed the channel, please do so now. Come on back. We would love to have you. Join our Discord, chat with us, but definitely come join on every Wednesday that we can. Anyway. 2 weeks, I believe it's 2 weeks from now, GaryCon. That Wednesday we will probably not have an episode. Three of us are going to be at Gary. I don't know. If I could finagle doing something somehow, maybe maybe
Maybe we could stream something.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean, we're going up Sunday night, so we'll be there.
nice. I'm not going up till Wednesday, but
Same.
yeah, yeah, I'll be up there Wednesday.
My kid has school.
Yeah.
He's already
Other
missing some.
other than that, next Saturday. No, not this coming Saturday. Next Saturday,
Following. Nope, 2.
the 19th.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry, not the 19th. Oh, never mind. Oh, yeah, the 15th.
Yep.
Yeah, so next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday, we are going to do a one shot of Cyberpunk. I think that's what we decided on, right? Or were we going to do the one shot of Alien instead?
Either or.
Thought we were going to do Cyberpunk and we were going to do Alien after we got back from Gary.
We're so confused. So yeah, we'll do the. Do you want to run Alien first, or do you want to run Alien after?
After.
All right, so we'll do Cyberpunk on the 15th. So we'll do a.
I'm kind of jonesing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of being selfish, but I kind of am jonesing.
I haven't done any Cyberpunk in a long while now.
He needs
so
a hit. He needs a Cyberpunk hit.
need to get hey, I gotta be running. I'm gonna be running 16 hours of it at GaryCon, so absolutely. So we'll do that on Saturday, and an FYI for folks out there, very soon we will be introducing the Raz Shop. Not sure what we're going to call that yet. I was thinking about Raz Emporium, Razzmatazz Emporium,
I
something
kind of like
that.
Raz Emporium.
Yeah.
I was just
Got a
about
nice
to say
ring
that.
to it.
I was trying to find like the way to mash those words together, but you hit the nail on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
What? Say it again. Say it again.
the Raz
Raz
Emporium.
Emporium.
Raz
Yep,
Emporium.
That-
Or
And he has to
Raz,
have he has to have a Eastern European accent. Just
or
saying.
it could be Razmart.
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 You got a little bit too much
Razmart.
Transylvanian sounding in that accent, but
Blah, 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 blah.
I do not say blah, blah, blah.
I do not say blah, blah, blah.
Oh man.
Wow.
Razmatorium.
The
Razmatorium.
Razmatorium.
Hear me play. Sounds like a Metallica song.
That actually does sound like it does.
Sanitarium.
So
Yeah, sanitarium.
So that will be coming very soon. As a matter of fact, I am hoping to have that open before GaryCon. So, and we'll have some interesting deals on there for Free League product for folks who want to pick up some games. And maybe some other things. What?
I was gonna say, what if people could put in some of their watching tokens or whatever they are for Razmacash?
Razmacash. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to
Yeah.
it. Wow. That's an idea. Absolutely. That's pretty much all I have. I'm not gonna put any more on the plate until after GaryCon. So
This
Anybody
is
got-
wise.
what's that?
This is wise.
Wise
She's-
decision.
Yes.
She's right. This is wise.
Hey, Game Hall though. You and I need to talk about Game Hall at some point, Chad. Maybe at
Oh, boy.
GaryCon.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Alrighty.
Will you really?
In this garb.
In that garb.
In this garb.
It'll be good. And we're gonna have a knight with us too.
Yes, we will.
It'll be the knight of the Raz table. Bum bum bum. Anyway.
I don't know. That's kind of a wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're just getting slap happy with GaryCon being 14 days away.
I know. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
It's
Like-
actually not a hoodie. It's a robe. It's the wizard
13
cloak.
days and a wake up.
Yes, 13 days and wake up it is.
baby. You guys will be at the first day of GaryCon.
We have a few folks, a couple return players to some of the tables that would like an opportunity to have a set down with us. So I'm gonna try and put that together too while we're there. Hopefully, Foxy and Darkpawn will be able to join. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
All I'm
Yeah.
saying, Greg, is if they sit you next to Ed Greenwoody and say hi.
He'll be
I
there.
am in the
I
same.
bet.
I'm in the same room I was in last year, almost all weekend long this time. So I'm quite sure that I'll be seeing Ed and a couple other folks. So yeah, probably be right next to Ed Greenwood again.
Yep.
Well, and two, make sure everybody keeps racking up those channel points, because
Yeah.
not only can you buy a slot on the Walking Dead, but if you do, then I have cast patches Walking Dead, and I will send you
Ooh.
one of those.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
she did.
So
And
I should have put some
yeah,
pictures
did
up.
we post those in the Discord? I think we did.
I don't know if we did or not. I know I put them in the specific chat, but
I think they're only between. I think we only shared them between us. I don't think there's any in there. So if you,
True, true,
whenever
true.
you are ready, Foxy, you can go ahead and post
Yeah,
them
I was gonna say yeah.
for the community to take a look at. Don't be surprised if
okay.
you end up with some people asking you how they get
Orders,
one.
because
Yeah.
they're really dope. They're really dope. Also, just a reminder, I have a bunch of channel points that I'm not using. Did mention a raffle of sorts. Get those out to folks who could better utilize them than I could. It is still a work in progress, but once we've kind of finalized the details on that and how to do that, keep you guys updated.
Enough said.
Yeah, because I have a ton of channel points too.
Yeah, I got 100,000 channel points that are just in there.
They're just hanging out, waiting for a
Yeah, just
rainy day.
pretty much. And I'd rather share them with the community. But yeah, I think that's it, unless either have anything else.
No, we're actually, they just kicked us into an ad break, so I think it's a good idea to go ahead and we will run our
Are you going to
end.
get a jump on the raid?
Well, I'll run the end, and
Uh,
then we can take a look at raiding into somebody. Actually, no, I
quarter
think
of a million Foxy point.
quarter
That's a
of a
lot of points.
Yeah.
He has lots. All right, guys. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. Looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday and the following Saturday. So please do join us. See some awesome gameplay. Back to running Cyberpunk again. So I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
Street Preacher.
All right, we can make that work. All right, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a fantastic evening.
Good night,
Night.
everybody.
Adios.
And